What's up everyone, it's Arcadenaut here, and today I would like to talk about a game that's quietly one of the most creative JRPGs I played in years. It's not that it flew under my radar, but every time I thought about jumping into it, something else pulled my attention. To be honest, my first few hours with FANTASIAN Neo Dimension didn't grab me. It felt a bit slow, lacking the narrative hook that I was expecting to see, and sadly, FANTASIAN Neo Dimension quickly drifted to the bottom of my backlog. Months after its launch, I've actually sat down and given it the time it deserves, and I can tell you with a full confidence, FANTASIAN is something special that is hugely slept on. Imagine the fathers of the Final Fantasy series, Hironobu Sakaguchi and Nobuo Uematsu, teaming up one last time to create their own spiritual successor. However, FANTASIAN isn't just an old-school Final Fantasy spiritual successor, but here is the twist. Instead of flashy modern graphics, the world is made of real, handcrafted dioramas. FANTASIAN isn't just another JRPG, but the feeling of nostalgia, a homage to their legacy, can be felt in each corner of this world through each work of Uematsu. What I found within this JRPG was a beautiful, brutal, and a quietly brilliant RPG that deserves way more attention than it's gotten. Today, we will talk about FANTASIAN Neo Dimension, why it matters, what makes it special, and why you shouldn't sleep on it like I did. FANTASIAN Neo Dimension comes from Mistwalker, the studio founded by Hironobu Sakaguchi after he left Square Enix in the mid-2000s. If his name rings a bell, it's because Sakaguchi is the man who created Final Fantasy and saved Squaresoft from bankruptcy back in the day. Hironobu Sakaguchi is, without exaggeration, one of the most important creators in video game history. He didn't just direct Final Fantasy, but he also built its DNA. From the first Final Fantasy through Final Fantasy X, Sakaguchi's fingerprints are everywhere in the genre. After leaving Square Enix in the early 2000s, he founded his own studio, Mistwalker, and began a new chapter. Games like Blue Dragon, Lost Odyssey, and The Lost Story carried the spirit of Final Fantasy forward, often in bold and experimental way. After the 2010s, Mistwalker shifted its focus as they tried to develop mobile titles, with Sakaguchi focused more on experimental, smaller projects. And in 2021, after replaying Final Fantasy VII, Sakaguchi decided to try something new. An RPG experience that feels like a love letter to the golden era of the JRPG genre, leading to the birth of FANTASIAN. However, there was another twist to FANTASIAN. Mistwalker's latest ambition released in 2 parts on Apple Arcade in 2021 for all its funding. Due to Apple Arcade being the sole platform to play it, FANTASIAN never reached a core JRPG audience. No matter how strong the narrative, the music, or the world design might have been, the platform choice turned many JRPG veterans away. As for me, I was sure FANTASIAN would reach other platforms by the time, at least maybe to Nintendo Switch. Fortunately, someone else at Square Enix saw its potential. And that someone was Naoki Yoshida, the man behind Final Fantasy XIV's Resurrection and the director of Final Fantasy XVI. Basically, Yoshi P loved FANTASIAN and believed more people deserved to experience this project. He offered to support a wider release, and with Square Enix taking the mantle of the publisher, this little mobile RPG got a second chance, a second life. With full voice acting, enhanced graphics, and a new difficulty mode, FANTASIAN Neo Dimension received a full-blown console and PC release. A second chance for Sakaguchi's vision. But of course, although I've been talking about Sakaguchi a lot, FANTASIAN wouldn't be what it is without Nobuo Uematsu, the soul of Final Fantasy's music for over 3 decades. Uematsu's work feels like a magnificent gift, from the haunting melodies of mechanical realms to the catchy flourishes in boss fights. Uematsu still delivers emotionally impactful works that would remind you some of his older works, especially Final Fantasy VIII. Mistwalker, under Sakaguchi's guidance, didn't just want to make Fantasian look good, or their aim wasn't just to deliver a high-graphic, modern JRPG experience. In fact, they wanted it to look unlike anything else, so they did something unheard of. The team behind FANTASIAN Neo Dimension built more than 150 physical dioramas. These are actual handcrafted miniature sets that are photographed in high resolution to be used as level backdrops, meaning that the background design, the levels are all handcrafted, giving a similar vibe of pre-rendered background of Final Fantasy VII, 8 or 9. Even with this unique aspect of Fantasian, the whole world feels like a true homage to golden era of the JRPGs. You get the feel that this whole experience is also deeply personal. Sakaguchi has said several times in his interviews that this approach reminded him of being a child, reminded of the time when he was playing with models and imagining worlds. The art style is nostalgic without being retro, creating a modern look with a familiar but artistic approach. Walking through these dioramas almost feels like wandering through a stop-motion film. Every frame is dripping with atmosphere to show you a world you have never seen before. So what Fantasian is about? Fantasian's story opens with a familiar twist, an amnesiac protagonist. Leo wakes up in Machine Realm, an alternate dimension filled with cold metal and corruption. Leo doesn't know who he is, he doesn't remember what happened, and the only clues come in pieces, through flashbacks, voices, and the ruins of a world torn apart by a mysterious affliction called Macteria. Leo's journey to recover his memories, as well as trying to fight against this affliction, form the narrative core of Fantasian Neo Dimension. As Leo navigates between the human realm and the machine realm, the scope of the story expands from his own fragmented past into a battle against spreading foes of this affliction called Macteria. This affliction, appearing as an unnatural, emotionless mechanical corruption, slowly consumes the world of Fantasian. It not only robs people of their lives but of their humanity as well, turning entire cities into lifeless shells and draining individuals of their emotions, memories, and spirit. With that, what begins as a personal quest soon spirals into a desperate attempt to save a world on the brink of annihilation, as Leo is joined by a surprisingly vibrant party of allies, each bringing their own quirks, motivations, and issues. From Kina, appearing as the healer of the group, reminding me of Aerith of Final Fantasy VII, to Princess of Vibra Queendom, Cheryl, appearing with more bite than Leo can handle. Also creating a dynamic that feels like a callback to Final Fantasy VII's Cloud, Aerith, and Tifa. Not in trope, but more in emotional rhythm. Other companions like Zinnikir, appearing as the airship captain with a carefree personality, as becoming the vibrant young inventor and the best support of the team. Basically, Fantasian never fails to satisfy in terms of offering a solid JRPG party that you can connect with. Through its narrative, through its core gameplay mechanics, Fantasian wants you to put your attention into each member of your party. The core design of the fights, and of course especially the boss battles, require you to gear up your characters, improve their equipment, and use their individual and unique skills in an efficient and clear way. On the other hand, Fantasian's narrative doesn't rely solely on cutscenes or dialogues. Just like the memory sequences of Mistwalker's other title, Lost Odyssey, Fantasian also delves into each character's past with the similar memory cutscenes. These are illustrated story segments that play out like pages in a beautifully voiced picture book, mostly delving into backstories of your companions or revealing fragments of Leo's own lost past. However, I find Fantasian's approach way better than how they did in Lost Odyssey. These sequences are narrated, these are mostly don't feel like they are lowering the overall tempo of the experience. As a friendly warning, the early hours of Fantasian might feel slow or maybe somewhat familiar. Its narrative truly begins to flourish as you unlock more of the world, reunite with your party members, and confront the origin of Macteria. Although Fantasian heavily suffers from its first part, relying heavily on a linear narrative, its pacing, its structure, the whole experience turns into a familiar, challenging, and expanding world that connects us with Fantasian's world and its characters. What really surprised me, one of the things that really pulled me in as the hours went by, was Fantasian's gameplay. At a glance, Fantasian's combat seems like a traditional turn-based JRPG. You got your party of 3 characters in battle: initiative, base, turn order, elemental affinities, status effects, healing skills, familiar items. The basics, the fundamentals are all there. Then, Fantasian begins to tweak the formula in a clever, unexpected ways. Each character's abilities aren't just a matter of targeting one enemy or casting an AoE spell. We are introduced with a trajectory system that lets you literally aim and curve your attacks. Whether it's Leo using Fire Slash in a straight line through multiple enemies, Kina bending a beam of light to snipe enemies hiding behind others, or as throwing explosives into the back row. Every skill in the game forces you to think an additional way of using your abilities to increase their efficiency. This trajectory system is not only used to aim for multiple targets, but it also adds a refreshing layer of tactical depth to every encounter, especially in boss fights as well. It is no longer about spamming your strongest attack, but it's also about lining it up, bending your shots, catching multiple enemies in one move, or weaving through their formation for maximum impact. It might seem like a small tweak in design, but one that completely changes how you approach encounters. You stop thinking in terms of just raw numbers or single target priority, and you start to plan around formations, angles, and line of sight attacks. When it comes to boss fights, this trajectory system becomes even more critical because, make no mistake, FANTASIAN Neo Dimension does not go easy on you. Bosses in this game are where the combat system truly comes alive, where the challenge becomes really serious. Each and every boss battle isn't just sponges with bloated health bars that you can just overcome by having strong equipment or over-leveling your characters. Instead, they are mechanical puzzles with distinct patterns, counters, and sometimes brutal consequences for misplays or wrong decisions or unnecessary risks. Some bosses use shields that rotate or shift positioning, some require you for a DPS check, or whether you are using your buffs and debuffs in a correct way and in correct time. You will even face some bosses that punish you for attacking at the wrong time or with a wrong element, forcing you to delay your moves, maybe apply debuffs or bait out a specific pattern before striking. Fantasian doesn't also tell you what to do. It doesn't flash a tutorial or hand you a clear weakness chart. It expects you to learn through failures, expects you to read animations, to recognize your enemy cycles. Basically and honestly, Fantasian isn't just a brain-dead JRPG, and it also does not have any quality of life feature that would let you increase your XP multiplier or something like that. You need to use everything at your disposal, be well prepared for the boss fight you're about to face in terms of items, maybe buffs, debuffs, elemental resistances, even the timing of your ultimate skills, with necessary upgrades unlocked in Growth Map by the second part of the journey. Speaking of all of this planning and boss fights, this is where the growth map system starts to shine. Every character's skill tree unlocked using key items called divine artifacts allows you to choose how they evolve. Basically, you can focus Cheryl's path into a high single target burst, or maybe something like a tanky survivability, or maybe you can spec Kina to become a pure healer or give her offensive spells to support her damage output. Each choice matters. It has so much significance that sometimes you might need to change your character's growth map progress by undoing some of the choices you made to make a boss battle manageable. As Fantasian progresses, the bosses also start to demand very specific roles to survive. This kind of difficulty might feel overwhelming at first, especially for players coming from more casual modern JRPGs, but what makes FANTASIAN Neo Dimension so satisfying is that it's always trying to be fair. At least tries to be, even when you feel frustrated. You might feel that Fantasian feels not rewarding even when you complete each and every side quest and still struggle at the last boss of this experience, but patience and calculating your moves is the key. When you fail to defeat a boss, you understand why, and that's why it shines as a decent and challenging JRPG experience that is worth visiting. FANTASIAN Neo Dimension ends with a deep appreciation in my heart for what it represents. It is not perfect, it can be punishing, slow at start, and occasionally uneven in its structure. But beneath all of that is a passion project that feels human, handmade in the truest sense. From its miniature diorama worlds to Uematsu's compositions, from Sakaguchi's narrative about memory and loss to the punishing, puzzle-like boss fights, Fantasian is the kind of a game that reminds you why you fell in love with JRPGs in the first place. It is not just a spiritual successor to Final Fantasy, but it honestly feels like a farewell letter that is to be experienced. As always, thank you for watching today's video. What do you think about Fantasian? Do you think Mistwalker should continue to develop such titles in the future? Any humble support through Patreon and YouTube join is really appreciated, and if there is any other JRPG title that you wish me to delve further, be sure to share them by the comments below. And I will see you soon in my next video.